What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and learn about why nobody knows who owns 15% of England. I have to admit, when I saw this video title, it was obviously intriguing to me, also a little confusing. 15% of the land in England is a lot of land. That's a lot. And nobody knows who owns it? I mean, here living in 2022 now, I would think these kinds of things like doesn't at least the government own it, or are there just billions of dollars in empty land that's doing nothing in England? Or is this a weird technicality? What does this mean? It's very interesting to me, and to say it's a fun fact, I guess, kind of a fun story or something, is an understatement. I want to know the explanation to this. 15% of England. Why nobody knows who owns it? Who owns it? That's like a weird way to put it. Like, because you can own the land, or you can own like a structure built on the land. Where is this land, by the way? You know, just question after question. So, with that being said, let's hear it. Why nobody knows who owns 15% of England?
Hey, check out this cool tract of land I found in somewhere in Wales. It's got bushes and this little gate and some electrical poles back there, all the
Okay.
makings for a truly legendary party. Yes,
Okay.
no doubt, the owner of this land is one fun-loving little scamp, and I'm sure we'd all love to call up Her Majesty's Land Registry, get this party animal's name, and organize the greatest bash that Wales has ever seen. But guess what? We can't. Like nearly 15% of all land in England and Wales, this land has never been registered with the government, so basically
Wow. Okay, so it's land in England and Wales, by the way. Has never been registered with the government. I've never been in a position where I've had to worry about this kind of thing, so I don't exactly know how this works. 15% of the land in England and Wales is unregistered, although it has an owner. Their details have never been registered at Land Registry. Is that a... Gosh. I would think registering land, is that not something? When did they start creating this database, I guess? Like, registering land, isn't that something that's hundreds of years old, even if it was done by physical pen and paper or quill and paper and certificates? I'm surprised that this is actually a thing. But are held in private paper records. Oh, there you go. Maybe that's the problem. Someone does own it, like on paper, maybe. Usually this land has been owned by the same family for decades, or institution for decades. Right. Because of strict transparency restrictions on land registry records, there's no public map of registered lands. Okay, I think I kind of understand.
and Wales, this land has never been registered with the government, so basically no one knows who owns it.
Oh! Oh! So that's an important distinction. The title says the land is owned by someone. It's just that we don't know who. That's the distinction. It's not that it's unowned, that it's just sitting there and no one owns it, and that people can start running to it and claiming it like the good old days. We can just fight a battle over this plot of land or something like the old days with our bows and arrows and muskets. No, this is owned by someone, theoretically. It just, they haven't registered it on the database, on the internet, with the government. Okay.
If that seems like a problem to you, that means that my intern leaked the next 30 seconds of this video. Or it just means that you're pretty perceptive, because yes, it's a problem. Large-scale infrastructure projects like city planning or environmental management become especially difficult when the land registry's official advice for contacting the owner of unregistered land is to, quote, ask in the local pub.
Really? That's kind of funny. I almost feel like when they wrote this, whoever wrote this, working there at the land registry, was almost trying to be funny. Oh, well, if you need to find out who owns it and they're not on our database, ask the pub, ask around town. Hey, that's how you used to have to do it. Huh? I get that's seriously how you used to have to do it.
It also affords some of England's largest landowners the privilege of anonymity, which makes it impossible for me to drag them to my guillotine, which, of course, is London's hottest new restaurant.
Yeah.
Now, that begs the question, wait, what the hell? Why was that allowed to happen?
Yeah.
Well, like most of the world's problems, it can be traced back to a series of bad decisions made hundreds of years ago by some old guys in robes. You see, this particular problem isn't new at all. England actually has a pretty bad history of keeping track of, well, England. The last time that the British government had a complete record of land ownership was all the way back in 1086 in something called the Domesday Book, which was
Wait, there was a time where they actually had a full book of every, like, basically complete book of every person who owned every plot of land in England? It's kind of amazing that they could even do that 1,000 years ago. There had to be some holes in this book. They couldn't have possibly. Where's this book?
To explain how we got from airtight land surveys with super cool names like Domesday Book to lame records with lame names like Her Majesty's Land Registry, we're going to have to oversimplify some British history.
Okay.
So let's dive right in.
That's fine with me. Simplify away.
In 1066, a French guy named William the Conqueror felt bad that he wasn't living up to his name and decided to conquer England. He introduced his new kingdom to all sorts of fancy new ideas like feudalism and writing down important information.
Sure.
Specifically, he set out to make a complete record of all the land in England and who owned it, which was pretty easy because, at the time, the only people who could own land were William the Conqueror's 170 self-appointed best friends, and God.
I was just thinking of this. Maybe it was really easy to keep track of who owned everything, because back then, everything belonged to the king and a couple of other people. That makes it very easy.
Fast forward a few more Williams to 1348, and a bacteria named the Black Death felt bad that it wasn't living up to its name and decided to death England. Since nobody had invented horse dewormer yet, a third of England was wiped out and the whole structure of land ownership changed. Workers took advantage of the plague-induced labor shortage to demand higher wages and more freedoms, and it slowly became easier for commoners to freely own land.
Huh. There's an interesting fact for you. Say, obviously we've all heard about the horrific repercussions of the Black Death, but never any of the, like, quote-unquote upsides that came out of it for the people who did not die horribly. Like, there was less competition for your job if all your competition caught a disease. So they actually, seriously though, that is horrible, but they got to request higher wages and take control of land ownership, which is actually interesting.
Of course, this couldn't possibly have any relevance for the modern day, so let's just move on. As lands changed hands all across England, records struggled to keep up.
I'm sorry, but this sheep here is scary. Look at it. Why is it, like, have blood dripping down its whole front of its face? And its eyes are demonically dark. I've never seen a sheep like this. All right, I'm sorry. This has nothing to do with the story. Why is it staring right at the camera? That's another thing. Okay.
As lands changed hands all across England, records struggled to keep up. For most of the country's history, the only way to transfer land was through a legal process called livery of seisin, which is Old English for giving a guy a twig and reciting a little poem about how the twig represents him owning the land now. This was good because it took about 30 seconds, but it was bad because there was literally no record of it happening, kind of like the time I ran the world's fastest marathon.
Right.
Eventually, in 1535, Henry VIII was like, wait, you guys just have been handing each other sticks for 500 years? Because I have absolutely no idea who owns what now. And everyone was like,
I'm surprised about the whole stick thing. You'd think this is kind of important stuff for back in the day, owning land, improving it. You could, like, get into fights over that kind of thing, life and death over that. You'd think they would keep some kind of parchment or official record of that physically. This whole reciting a poem with a stick surprises me.
it's like, yeah, it's
But then again, I keep stopping the video. But then again, every time I have a thought, maybe a lot of folks didn't know how to read and write, or had paper and pens. An important distinction.
It's great, we love the sticks thing. And Henry VIII was like, well, I just invented deeds. Could you guys use those instead? And everyone was like, sure, fine, whatever. And Henry VIII was like, but can you also register those deeds with the keeper of rolls in your local county so I know what's going on? And everyone was like, shut up, nerd, that's too much work. So England switched over from trading sticks to trading pieces of paper, but still no one knew who owned what.
Hey, that's better than nothing. The creation of deeds. Or maybe he didn't create deeds, but he was an advocate for deeds. The start of deeds, not bad, honestly. It's a written record.
Finally, in 1862, the government created Her Majesty's Land Registry, where anyone from England or Wales could voluntarily register their land.
Okay.
Naturally, everyone jumped on this exciting opportunity to fill out unnecessary paperwork to help their favorite institution, the British government.
Yes, but it is helping the government, but it's also, you'd think they'd jump at this opportunity to say, yeah, I want to register this land. It's mine. I own it, by the way. This is mine. My name's now on the record. So it kind of helps them, like, have official claim to their land.
And that would be true, too, if it weren't false. In reality, almost no registrations took place until it became mandatory, and that didn't happen until the 1990s, because real estate lawyers spent a century complaining that a system more competent than a bunch of pieces of paper would put them out of a job.
Wow.
But by 1998, any property that was bought, sold, or inherited in England or Wales needed to be registered with the government. To date, that accounts for about 85% of both countries. So where does that remaining 15% come from?
Oh my gosh. Well, this is just kind of a result of England procrastinating a little bit. With the whole registry of land thing. That's fascinating. Man, they only did it when it was mandatory. And only 85% to this day?
Well, so long as the land has stayed in the same owner's hands since the 90s, compulsory registration hasn't kicked in, and the owners are probably still a mystery. Most likely, that final 15% has managed to hold out for so long because it either belongs to the church, the crown, or some really rich family who bought it to play a single game of croquet and then forgot. In any case, should you stumble across some unregistered land with nothing but a long abandoned set of croquet mallets, it turns out you can just take it.
Yeah, this is exactly what I was wondering. If there is 15% of land out there, and no one knows that they own it, maybe there's an owner, but they just don't know, and they're never gonna. And if you discover it, I don't know how you discover it, but maybe you do. Can you claim it? Because no one else is gonna.
So instead of complaining about unregistered land on the internet like me, your time is probably better spent stealing it from the English aristocracy instead. Lucky for you, I have a way you can make the time to do that. So you know how when you cook, you have to do a bunch of boring stuff like thinking and—
Wait a minute. This sounds like an ad. Yes, this is a sponsored segment. Okay, that's the end of the video. No grocery shopping segment. This was by Half As Interesting. Pretty good. I like this. That actually made sense. I was like, where are we going with this? Nobody knows who owns 15% of England? Turns out to be true. And turns out there's kind of a treasure hunt of sorts, a land hunt on our hands. Yeah, this is only a year old. Huh. What are people saying about this? Now I want to go to England with a conquistador outfit and claim that we were just playing the long game and now own 15% of England. Yes, they can just go dress like a ye olde Englishman, and that you're part of an ancient royal line, and that you own that land, and maybe even create a fake deed or something. I don't know. Stain it with coffee or burn it, whatever you got. Burn the edges, make it look old, whatever you have to do. I'm not advocating for forging fake land documents, by the way. Ask the local pub is the single most British thing I've ever heard. True. You forgot the most embarrassing bit. Neighboring Scotland has a land register since 1617. Over 200 years before England and Wales sorted it out. Wow. Really got a point on the board there, Scotland. Well done. My grandparents' house is the only house on our street that is not registered. I know because I worked at a law firm, and all law firms have near unlimited access to online land registry. Generally, old people just don't care. Well, that's someone else's problem when I die. True, very true. Okay, interesting. This is like a fun little historical yet modern. I'll call it a fun fact. I'll do it. This was a fact. It was fun. I enjoyed it. Anyway, if you enjoyed this as well, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to England, the UK, stuff there, the culture, things that I have never seen before, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.